Test one, two. Two.
Uh, coffee time, coffee time. Yeah, this ain't your average cup of joe. Listen, I need it in the morning, I need it at night. He always keeps it brewing, he always keeps it tight. Just a little sip, it'll get you right. Terrence Pickett always be the one that gets the coffee right. The coffee's right, the coffee's right in my life. It's never a wrong time or a crime to get what's yours and to get what's mine. Come on, coffee time in my life. Coffee time. Feels so right. I need a little sugar, put it in my cup. Can you stir it, Terrence? Let me know what's up. And at the end of the show, you can brew another pot. Just make sure you make it hot. Come on.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to all of you that are here. Do me a favor. Um, Invite somebody to share if you don't mind. If you don't mind, invite somebody to share. Let's have a conversation. This morning we're talking about stop being petty. Uh, Once you get on, if you could say good morning to me, I'd appreciate it. Star Brown, good morning to you. Star Brown, good morning to you. Um, you know, this journey called life is nothing short of amazing. But this journey called life it's also um, Felicia Lauderdale. What's up, cuz? Good to see you. This journey called life is amazing, but it's also short. Um, One scripture says it this way: it says, life is but a vapor. You know how quick a vapor comes in and how immediate it goes out. Nancy Falco, good to see you this morning. So glad you all are on. Do me a favor, invite somebody to share. So, life it's quick, it's short. Um, I've been in my thoughts. When I say I've been in my thoughts, I've really been considering some things, reconsidering some things, really trying to get myself to a place of understanding, because there are so many things that happen in life that we don't have answers for. And I'm not certain that we should spend too much time trying to find answer when we have the answer in the hope that we have in Christ. But I do believe it becomes our responsibility to search, research, to ask the right questions, because I do believe that there's a level of wisdom that is released in understanding. And Deuteronomy says it this way: it says that the secret thing belongs to the Lord, and those things that have been revealed belong to us. But I don't believe in every case that God just reveals it to you. I believe, according to the scriptures, ask and you shall receive, seeking ye shall find, knocking the door should be open. So I believe in some cases, not every case, that there is a great responsibility on us to ask the right questions. and in asking the right questions, I find myself um, really, really trying to understand what is really the journey of life. What is it all about? I know what we've been taught. And many of us, we suffer from the adoption of the sacred opinion of others, people that we look up to, people that have mentored us, people that we love, people that we enjoy. We embrace their ideology out of respect and loyalty to them, and we never take the time to ask the question. And this morning, I want to ask a couple of questions before we roll into our topic. Um, the bishop is on, Bishop Irvin Jones. Love you, man. I want to ask the question: if life is but a vapor, Solomon, in all of his glory, Solomon was one of the richest mans to ever live. In fact, Solomon had so much because he asked for the one thing that the average person would not ask for. He asked for wisdom. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for women. He didn't ask for the world. He asked for wisdom. And through the gift of wisdom, he was able to unlock every channel in life. He had everything that a man could want. He had every desire that a man could ask for. Solomon was not only wise, but his wisdom brought him riches. I think that's a word right there. So many of us are seeking so many things. We're seeking to be great. We're seeking to master. We're seeking. I'm sorry, it's the coffee. We're seeking so many things in life, and we are seeking things without seeking the giver's heart of the things. In other words, we're seeking the hand instead of seeking the heart without understanding. If you get the heart of God, you automatically get the hand. One of the things that I've tried to instill in the children, they're adults now, that I have, one of the things that I've tried to instill into them really was understanding. It's wisdom. I've tried to give them wisdom, the wisdom of life, the principles of doing things, and not marinating so much on the principle that we forget the prince. But I've tried to, whatever toolbox that God has given me, I've tried to unlock it to make it available to them so they wouldn't have to encounter some of the things that I've gone through, experience some of the things that I've experienced, and embrace some of the failures that I've had. I've tried to take my life, open it as a book to my children so that they can see that life is what you make it. Life is about perspective. And in doing so, I've seen some fruit in the both of them. They're still growing. You know, they're still figuring it out. But I've seen maturity and growth. And I'm reminded of a statement that my son made. So, for a brief time, he and I, before I started pastoring, for a brief time, my son and I were privileged to serve together in the same church. Shout. He was the organist keyboard. I was the worship leader there. And while we were serving together, one Sunday we came in to pray. And he walked in, of course, he had his suit on. And when I saw that suit, I said, "I like your little suit, son." He smirked, continued about, his morning doing the things that he had to do for preparation. Well, later that afternoon, I happened to talk to his mom, and he had mentioned to her, "Yeah, Dad complimented me." No, he said, "Dad gave me an underhand compliment." He said he liked my little suit. And trying to be humorous and be me in some regard, I did not take in consideration what or how that would make him feel. So I want to start off by saying, oftentimes our comedy is at the expense of somebody else. And being at the expense of somebody else, you don't know where they are in their life. You don't know what they're dealing with. so there's a sensitivity that we have to have, even in sarcasm. Um, and the last few weeks for me have been extremely challenging. My dad transitioned, um, and my dad and we had a relationship where we would give it to it. We'd rank on each other, we'd laugh. Um, that was the relationship we had. That's my household. In our household, when I was being raised, my dad gave everybody nicknames. I got a baby sister many people don't know about. They don't see her. Got a couple of siblings people don't see because they're not into what we're into. And he called my baby sister Lizard. He called me Don Harris. My older sister Renee, he called her City. He called my daughter Lucy. He called my son Maestro. A couple of names he had for my son. He called him grandson. He called him Maestro. But he gave these nicknames to us because it was a reflection of something we did. It was a reflection of our behavior. And as a result of that, we developed these nicknames. So we grew up in a house full of humor. My dad was a clown. My mama, oh yeah, my mama's she's a quite the jokester herself. And as a result of that, when you're raised in a house of humor, where very little was taken so serious, we would laugh about anything. I'll never forget my little brother Charles was cleaning his gun and shot his finger off. It's a true story. Had to rush him to the hospital, of course, all that. Stitched what part of the finger he kept. They stitched it back on. So now his index finger, I think on his left hand, is it's something to behold. And for a while we called him Shoot It Off. Shoot it! Wait, shoot it! So I'm trying to just give you some background of where a lot of my sarcasm, sense of humor, being able to see something funny in everything, where it came from. In addition to that, naturally, I have a strong sense of humor. So there are times when I'm hosting, there are times when I'm talking to my friends, all I see is something funny. I use that as a tool a lot of times to lighten the load on people, especially when we're dealing with things in life that seems to be complex. And I started out talking about trying to figure out what life is all about, because even in my sense of humor, even in my father's house, that's how we were raised. That is the foundation and the core of who we are. My dad taught us that life was about kingdom. Life was about purpose. You hear me talking on a lot of these lives, sharing some of life stories, some of the wisdom that I've gained from life. Well, you need to know that was soiled and fed by my dad. And in recent weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, my dad transitioned, and it leaves you kind of wondering, what is life all about? And for the first time in my life, I can't find nothing funny in this. Just nothing's funny. So there's a pettiness that we have to monitor in our behavior. There are certain things we say. There's a certain hint of sarcasm that we can deliver. We have to make sure that it is coming from the right place, because oftentimes in our pettiness we're disqualifying or hurting or disassembling relationships and things that God has ordained for our life to help us get further. I think the worst thing in life that you could ever be is alone. And I'm going to prove it to you. One of the greatest torments ever known to man is when they stick him in a hole by himself, to himself, with himself. No interaction amongst other humans. They stick him in a hole by himself. It's it's in being alone that man, his mind begins to disassemble. There's a level of psychological warfare that you have to contend with when you are alone, and that has been enough to torment prisoners in the past in the art of war. No beating them necessarily or starving them, just put them in a hole by themselves. And all of us desire to be around or to be with like species. But when we're living in a culture that is predicated on how well you look, it's the focus of our current society is me too. It's all about me building me and how I feel. We inadvertently, in a focus or in an attempt to focus on self, help build self, have self-awareness and the empowerment of self, we inadvertently begin to overlook those that are around us, and we're moving with what makes us happy at the expense of people that God has assigned to do this journey with us. So there's another level of sensitivity that I believe we need to have, another level of focus that we need to have, to the point, yes, everybody wants to be happy, but in being happy, make sure that your happiness is not built off of the welfare of others, and make sure it doesn't cost a person their feelings or cause them harm for you to be happy. And in this generation of Me Too, self-awareness, self-empowerment, we become a lot more free at expressing how we feel. And there are so many people that they say how they feel in a comical way. And I don't necessarily believe just because you are being sarcastic, you're necessarily being serious. I don't necessarily believe that. A lot of people believe that what you say with a smirk or a smile comes from the heart. I do believe in a lot of cases that is true. But in some cases, some people, that's just their personality. It's just who they are. So they are being comical. They're being, where do you think comedians come from? That's something God put in them to have natural humor. They're able to take reality and find something funny in it. And they're able to deliver it in such a manner, especially if they're good, that we're laughing the rest of our life over things that we've heard. That's a gift. But in our everyday relationships, in our everyday involvement, in our everyday attempt of navigating through this thing called life, I do believe that there's a sensitivity that we're supposed to have, and that sensitivity literally starts and ends with having a heart for each other. So a lot of times when there's conflict, we say things under our breath instead of dealing with the issue face forward. We kind of throw rocks and hide our hand. We say things, we make hints towards things or matters or things that have been offensive to us. If we're not conscious, we can start fighting in pettiness. And I see it all the time. There's a level of pettiness that we have. Charmaine Stevens, good morning, and I'm so glad you joined. There's a level of pettiness that we have and that we've developed towards mankind in general. Toby, good to see you, Kobe. And I think we have to take another look at ourselves and find the root of where our pettiness is coming from. Now, again, there's a difference between, some people are just funny. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna take these headphones off. Some people are just funny. Some people are called to entertain us. Some people are called to make us laugh. And I believe things are defined not by as they appear, but the true definition of a thing can be found in the root of its existence. A lot of times we see the fruit on the tree. We see what people do, but we don't understand where it comes from. So I believe that the definition of a thing is found in the root cause, not the fruit cause. And the root cause, a lot of times, will determine what it is defined as it relates to fruit. So you can have two people saying the same thing. One has a hidden agenda, the other is being pure. What do you call their actions? Even though the actions are just alike. So I think it requires, again, another level of sensitivity. It causes another level of sensitivity. It causes, I kind of want to stand up on this a little bit. Causes another level of sensitivity, as well as there's a level of responsibility that we have to take for who we've become. There are so many people that have become so many things. So many things in life has affected us, and the effect that it has on us has either changed our behavior or put us in a posture, in a position where we're not being completely honest about what we feel and who we are. I know I should have probably stayed in that seat, but yeah, I want to do something different here. So, in being honest about who we are, in being honest about who we are is not defined necessarily by what we do. I know when I was a kid growing up, there were dope dealers that gave more to the community than the church. What do we honor the dope dealers for their contributions that they're giving? Because on the one hand, you're helping the community that you're also destroying by selling the poison to our kids in these neighborhoods. So I believe what we are, who we are, is defined not just by what we do, but the heart in which our actions produce. Whatever your motive is behind what you do defines who you are. I'm going to say it again. Mike Grubbs. What's up, son? Michelle Buckley, good morning. So, in understanding heart, one of my mentors used to tell me all the time. He was also the principal of the school where I graduated. I had the privilege, and pleasure to graduate from New Covenant Christian Academy. You know, long before private school became popular. My dad saw the need to send all of us to private school. He made a lot of sacrifices because he believed that education and what is taught should be rooted and grounded of godliness. So he didn't send us to just a private school, he sent us to a Christian school. And that deposit that he made has literally been the framework of who I've become. I don't think I've acknowledged it as much as I should. I don't think I've admitted it as much as I could have. But I'm not me because this is what God created. I believe I am me by the wisdom of God, being able to discover what I am and what I'm not, make necessary changes, but also the community that God has placed around me has been a strong arm of influence to what I've become. You basically model what you see. You model what you see. And I've had great role models in my life. I've had great men, great women who have contributed into what I believe is the success of my mind, what I believe is the wealth of my heart. I do not believe wealth is money. I don't. I don't. Again, I know drug dealers and strippers that make a lot of money. And I don't care how much money they have, I still believe they're broke. And the reason they're broke, as something happened to get you to where you are, believe the way you believe, and do what you do. And most people in life, they're looking for community. And when you look at people who take the shortcut and they find something that can give them tangible things fast, well, the heart behind that is that they're evading the process. And with evading the process, greed will cause you to break simple principles in life so that you can have what others have, but you've not put the work or the time in to get it. So a lot of pettiness, it comes because of envy and jealousy. You're mad because you don't have what you believe you should have, and maybe a person is operating or possessing something you desire. So as a result of that, you become extremely petty towards them. You say what you want to say, you say what comes out of your heart, but you cater it or dress it with a joke. That's not funny, because we're supposed to be people of good intentions. We're supposed to be people of character, people of integrity. And Matthew, I believe it's chapter 18, tells us how we're supposed to deal with offense. Offense is real. When you start talking about conflict resolution, in fact, I think I'm going to read it to you. It's Matthew 18. I think it starts at 15. I'm going to read to you how conflict resolution is supposed to look, and the things that we, especially as believers, are supposed to how we're supposed to handle ourselves. Okay, 18:15. All right. The worst thing that I believe that you can do is be offended with someone, by someone, and not be able to express that offense. There are situations where you won't be able to address it, but when you can't address it with the person that offended you, it is imperative that you address it with yourself, because you can inadvertently grow with this offense in your heart, and that offense that is in your heart that you're growing with now begins to offset your character. So when you hear of somebody else that resembles or reminds you of the person that offended you, your defense go up and you give them something, and they're unaware of how you feel about it. There's a level of emotional intelligence that goes with this. When people get offended and that offense is not dealt with, that offense takes root in their heart, and everything someone else does, they begin to question, but they are questioning it or reasoning with it through the poison of their offense. So you got to know how to resolve and how to disagree. We're not going to agree on everything. We're not going to like everything, but it's very important that we be people of good conduct, of good character, that we have good morality, that we operate in a good sense of ethics, where we're not throwing rocks and hiding our hand. You know you have something against someone, and every time they come around, you throw things at them to see how they're going to respond because you believe you have something on them. That's childish. And the most asinine thing or troubling thing to me is when you see adults behave like that. You know, I miss my friend, my brother Toy. We grew up together. I used to tell Toy all the time, hey boy, you're too old for that. You know, at some point, you've got to, you're going to change your behavior. But a lot of people are locked into handling things a certain way because they've experienced traumas that have hindered their growth and their development. And at the stage or age of that trauma, they stop growing there. So now they're grown and still have attitudes at people without expressing the offense. There are other people you can go around, they just have this strong disdain towards you, and you're trying to figure out what I do to you. You know, don't pee in the air and tell me it's lemonade. Because we are in some regards afraid of confrontation. We've not been trained in many cases on how to deal with conflict. So our offense now comes out through us being petty. Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, I believe in its entirety, 15 through 20, gives us a blueprint on how we're to handle offense. Here's what I hear people say this all the time. Well, just pray about it. Just pray about it. No, according to Matthew 18, 15 through 20, the last process in dealing with offense is prayer. Lord have mercy. Tina White McPherson, good morning. Y'all invite somebody to share. Probably a better title is How to Handle Offense. But we pray, the last step in this process is prayer. Let me read it to you. And this is Jesus talking. Matthew 18, 15. He's telling us how to deal with offense. All right. So, I'm sorry. So it says, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. So the first order of business, the very first thing Jesus says that when you're dealing with conflict resolution, the way that you resolve the conflict is go to the person that has committed the offense against you. He didn't just say go to them. He said go to them, and you go to them alone. Don't be spilling the tea to your friends so that they can gain your side. And now you have persuaded or you have convinced these people and changed their heart possibly towards how they view somebody else. One of the things that I hate is I hate gossip. You got the dirt on somebody, you got the scoop on somebody did something to you, and because you're offended, now you want to air out their dirty laundry, but you've never had the boldness, or you never had the guts to confront them about what they did to you. A lot of times things happen as a result of a misunderstanding. There are so many wars that have been started over a misunderstanding. It's being able to communicate. We don't know how to communicate, and if we do know how to communicate, we give our emotions an advantage over the principles of righteousness. In other words, I promote how I feel over what I know is right. And there are times the Holy Spirit be dealing with you. Sometimes he'll deal with you through conversations. He'll send somebody strike up a conversation with you, and you don't, it's almost as if they were on the phone with you, or they're living in the basement of your heart to hear what's going on. And it's because we don't have any emotional intelligence. Dana Lomas, good morning. So the first thing Jesus says is, if someone offends you, you got a problem with someone has done something, you're insulted by it. It says, go to him and he alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained a brother. So the goal of conflict resolution is to gain a neighbor. It's to gain a brother. It's not so you can go tell your friends how well you articulated a person's offense and tell them, yeah, I had to get them straight, to give yourself brownie points to make yourself look good. That's pride at its best. And I'm telling you, the Bible says that God resists the pride. Resists. He totally opposes pride. It reminds him of a fellow that he created. And the Bible says that he gives grace to the humble. Humility will not allow me to celebrate on top of a person's downfall. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how we can celebrate and have parties at the expense of hurting other people. I don't get it. I don't. When I know that I've offended someone, when I know, hey, you know what, you didn't handle that right. I do my best, get that person on the phone. Sometimes they don't even know. The other week, I was having a conversation with, the Lord has given me children that I didn't have anything to do in terms of their birth. And I was talking to one of them, and I said something and did something that when I went home, I said, now, why did you say that? What were you thinking about? Why did you do that? And the next day, I went to their job. Their job happens to be a place that I frequent. And I ran into them. And I say, come here. This is going to trip y'all out. That Pickett be calling people daughter, some of them. And I don't necessarily believe it the way y'all do. But I said, come here, daughter. I said, let me say something to you. I said something, you did something yesterday, and it bothered me the entire night. And I want to make sure, first of all, I was wrong. That's one of the biggest problems with humans. We will not admit when we're wrong. We have a problem acknowledging. There's even a way that we're supposed to apologize. You don't apologize and use the word but. Now, I'm sorry for what I did to you, but you provoked. No, ain't no but in no apology. If you were wrong, you got to make good on your wrong without creating a space for excuses to grow. Just say you're wrong. Hey, I was wrong in that. And I apologize to you. I apologize. I was wrong. And I'm going to do better. What keeps us from acknowledging we were wrong or admitting we were wrong, it reveals the pride that is hiding in our heart. And that pride, believe it or not, is the reason things don't work in our life. Because I don't really believe that God is going to commit to honoring you, elevating you, promoting you, and you put yourself in a position to hurt other people because you can't acknowledge I was wrong. So I apologized to her. I said I shouldn't have done that. I was wrong. I said, I'm not even sure what I was thinking. I said, but it bothered me. She said, oh, I hadn't thought about that anymore. Thank you for apologizing, but it didn't even bother me. Well, the point of the apology is not necessarily how she felt about it. That's a part of it, because you want to offend people. But she wasn't offended. So should I take the apology back? Absolutely not. Apologies and acknowledging that you're wrong, it causes you to be vulnerable and walk in a level of meekness and stewardship over what you believe you've done in your own heart. So it's twofold. My apology is to correct something I feel in my heart that I've wronged, and to repair just in case I offended somebody else. When you don't apologize, you set your soul on a mountain and you give your soul permission to treat people the way you feel they ought to be treated, because you're stuck in yourself, and it kills, it absolutely destroys the sensitivity that we're supposed to have towards each other. Why do you think when you tell somebody that they offended you, or you felt like they were wrong, the first thing that they say, I don't care how you feel? The reason they don't care, they've lost their human touch. We were not created to not feel. Lord, let me talk to this vanilla bean syrup. We were not created to not feel. We were created to have feelings and to be in touch with how others feel. That's why God gave us emotions. He's an emotional God. He's touched by the very feelings, Lord, ooh, yeah, of my infirmities. He's moved by what I'm moved by. God is not just involved with me in terms of his purpose, his counsel. He's also involved in my feelings. He cares how I feel. Let me get a little closer. He cares about how I feel. And because he cares about me, it makes me sensitive to others. Because the same mercy and grace I receive, it's my obligation to give it to other people. So if I've offended you, you have to bring it to my attention and give me the opportunity to make the correction. Now you have some people, no matter what you tell them, they're not going to repent. So now you have to practice maturity. What is maturity? Being an adult, being grown, accepting responsibilities. They may not own up to what they did, but now, because I know who you are, I have to set up my makeup and put myself in a position, because I understand you're offensive. So now I have to keep myself out of your control, out of your presence, and stay on the side that is safe for me to walk in love and harmony with you. And I'm going to give you something else, and I'm going to go back to Matthew chapter 18. Forgiveness does not mean fellowship. Forgiveness means I don't allow the offense to set up in my heart where it disconnects us and hinders me from moving forward in love with you, because I keep bringing up or rehearsing what you did to me. There are some people you see, you won't even speak to them because you're rehearsing what they did to you. You've not let it go. When you truly let it go, it forces you to be kind, forces you to have maturity, forces you, hey, I do love you. And if there's something I can do to help you, you let me know. But because you've not changed, Jesus died for my peace and my freedom. And I know for a fact he doesn't want me to use love as a license for you to keep hurting me when he delivered me from the pain that I've experienced. So, in asking for forgiveness, sometimes you're going to have to forgive, and the person that you're forgiving won't even apologize. You got to release it in your heart, because it hinders you and it stunts your growth. And I'm telling you, there are physical diseases that are a direct result of spiritual offenses. I never forget, I was in my late 20s, and I was holding stuff in my heart. You got to understand that you were created in the image and likeness of God. God created you to let stuff go. This is why the word says his mercy is new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. You have God's DNA. When God breathed into man and man became a living soul, he transferred his blood into you. So you were not created to hold grudges. So when you hold something in your heart spiritually, Your body doesn't understand. So it reacts to the stuff that you're holding here. Let me give, this is science now. This ain't Bible, this is science. I'm getting ready to give you science. Did you not know that scientists have proven, medical science have proven, that the enzymes proven to cause cancer are released when we tell lies? Lord have mercy. So it could be, well, how did this person get cancer? Not in every case, and I don't know the percentage of cases, but it could be because they tell lies. It could be because they held something in their heart. You are more spirit than you are natural. Let me say it again. You're more spirit than you are natural. This is how you know things. You're able to do things. Whatever your gift is, it's spiritual. It's spiritual. The gift is spiritual. The body is just the glove that carries out that spiritual gift. When you see people and they're able to sing. I've been singing my whole life. I need thee, oh, I need thee. I've been doing that my whole life. I go into a place and I sing what I want to sing. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faith. I can do it at the drop of a hat. I don't have to practice. I don't have to rehearse. I wake up. It comes natural for me. What is that? It's a spiritual gift that God gave in eternity. And then he built a body around that gift so that that body could perform the command of your spirit. I know I'm talking good. I know I'm talking good. So your physicality is responding to something that has happened to you spiritually or even emotionally. I'll give you another one. There are cysts in the body that is a direct result of rebellion. Rebellion is not physical, it's mental. Your mental, your psyche, how your mind is set up is a reflection of what's in your spirit. When a person's spirit is poisoned and they're not walking in love, when they're hateful in spirit, their actions reflect it. So your spirit is the root. Your body acts out what's in the root of your soul. So you gotta forgive because it could be the thing that saved your life or extend your life. You gotta forgive, not just for promotion. You gotta do it because it's right. We have to stop doing right things because we're wanting better things. And we've got to start doing the right thing because it's the right thing. You were created for righteousness. You were created to do right. So whenever because you were created through righteousness, in righteousness, and the righteousness of your daddy's DNA is in you, when conflict or iniquity or transgressions is confronted with your righteousness, if you don't settle those things the right way, those things have a way of building up stuff in you that you're not supposed to experience. That's where hate comes from. Hateful people they've had hateful things done to them. They did not properly handle those hateful things, and they became their experience. So now they're full of hate. Hateful people hate people. Hurt people hurt people. So there is a way that conflict has to be resolved so you can be healthy. It has nothing to do with your perpetrator or the offender. It's so you can be healthy. So you can live a quiet and peaceful life. So you can have inner peace. When I don't do right, I don't have inner peace. I'm troubled. My peace is attacked. The anxiety of the soul is a result of peace being under attack by unrighteousness. So Jesus said, when somebody offends you, you go to them and you go to them alone. And if they hear you, he said, you've gained a brother. So the end result is not how well I handled you. The end result is to regain you as my brother or my sister, so that love can manifest in our hearts to the point where we put the enemy out by being at rest with each other. Verse 16, but if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word is established. So the Bible says, hey, if he don't receive you, or he has a problem, or you cannot settle this issue, you got to grab, it says 2 or 3 witnesses. And the reason you're bringing them in is, again, you're trying to gain your brother. And sometimes in conflict resolution, the offense that's in your eye and the offense that's in theirs can cause you all to not see the love that each other have for each other. So you have to bring someone who can mediate this counsel, that can mediate this exchange, so that we can bring peace. When we have peace, peace is the beginning of strong influence and prosperity. You can't prosper without peace. If you do not have peace, you're not prospering, because whatever has interrupted your peace has your attention. And whatever has your attention is on your mind. Whatever's on your mind is what you become. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So it says, listen to what it says, but if he will not hear ye, then take one or two more, that in the mouth of those 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established. The purpose for the witness is to establish the righteousness of God, which is peace. It's covenant. We're in covenant together because of what Jesus did. And so there's not a break in the covenant that could cause both of us harm and cause us to live our days in misery, frustration, irritation, and agitation. He says, take 2 people with you so that they can oversee that. Verse 17. Now, if they neglect to hear them, now they won't hear you other witnesses. It says, tell it to the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, and when he says the church, he's talking about leaders who should be operating in wisdom. So if this person is not going to listen to you, the witnesses you took, take them to the leaders of the church. And if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. Meaning, basically, they are an enemy of the cross. They've neglected to believe and to follow God's order that he's established in his house. He's the governor. And when you willingly disobey who's in charge, the Bible says we're supposed to cast you out. You've broken fellowship and you don't wish to make peace. So we're supposed to leave you to yourself. Now look at verse 18. And verily I say unto you, whatsoever things you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever things you loose on earth will be loose in heaven. It's in peace and harmony that everything that God has established for you in heavenly places is able to be delivered to you. But you have to move in the heart and spirit that God commands. Look at verse 19. This is a scripture that is used all over the world out of context. It says, and I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on a thing touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. Look at verse 20. Here we go. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst. It is not talking about the order of a service. It is not talking about how many people you have in your congregation. It is not talking about how many people you have meeting in your assembly. That as long as there's 1 or 2, God's going to be in the midst. God is in the midst with one person. What this scripture is talking about, it's talking about conflict resolution. When the conflict has been resolved, and you've done it the Bible way, whether that person accepts it or rejects it, because you were moving in kingdom authority, in kingdom order. God says, in the midst of you, I'll sit down. If you ever want to get God, if you ever want to get God's attention, it comes in walking in love with your brother, with your sister who you've offended. When you do things God's way, God says, I'll be with you. Now, if God is with you and for you, who can be against you? Whatever it is you're trying to produce, whatever success you're looking for, you got to make sure that God is sitting in the midst. And the way that we get God to sit in our midst is operate according to kingdom culture and not the culture of this world. Culture of this world, you give it to me, I'm going to give it back to you double. You cuss me, I'm going to double cuss you. You know, it's an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. And what Jesus is trying to say, that's not how kingdom people resolve conflict. Kingdom people don't use sarcasm as a license to be petty and spill out truth. There's an order in which we deal with offense. There's an order. So, one other thing I'm gonna give you too is one of the things that we have to be mindful too in communication is that there are two things that we have to take in consideration. Just because you've been offended, now you want to jump, hey, I want to follow biblical order. Well, two things that you're going to have to remember in trying to establish these kingdom principles. One is tone, and the second one is timing. You could be trying to do the wrong thing, but the person's not in a position to receive what you have to say because the timing is off. Because we're human. I was at the hospital with my mom, and when I was coming out of the room, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. And at the time, my dad was on life support, my mom's in the hospital, and I'm full. Well, I'm gonna go check on my dad. I'm leaving my mom. They're in two separate hospitals at the same time. And the lady walked up to me, and she felt that that was the time for her to free herself of whatever she held against my family. And I explained to her, sweetheart, whatever it is you're holding, I can promise you, we haven't thought twice about it. I can promise you that. I accept your apology. You know, go in grace. What I was really trying to communicate to her, whatever offense you're holding is your problem. I appreciate you understanding or following biblical order, but your timing is off. We're not in a place to hear your grievances. And sometimes we inadvertently become selfish because we want to do what we feel we need to do without including or even thinking about the position of another person. You know, as much as I clown and play, it's not time for that all the time. And there's times when I have been playful at the wrong time. And this is one of the reasons my prayer has always been, Lord, give me a greater level of sensitivity to be able to discern the times so that I say the right thing the right way in the right place. So you got timing, and then you have tone. You have tone. Some people are naturally aggressive. I'm an alpha male, all right? And a lot of times I'm talking, I'm not mad, I'm not jumping on nobody's case, but I've heard often, why are you talking like that? You need to change your tone. I'm not making excuses for that, but it's a part of how I'm wired. I'm not even aware that I'm being aggressive. So for me, I have to have a greater level of sensitivity versus someone else because my tone is aggressive by nature. That does not give me a license to walk around and just talk to people in a kind of way and say, oh, that's just who I am. No. I have to be proactive in my approach and very intentional in my thoughts so that I'm attentive to myself, and I have to make sure you don't raise your voice. Y'all don't know the conversations that I have to have myself when I'm having certain conversations with other people because my intent is to never offend anyone. I really don't understand how we can offend each other and it not bother us. I'm going to say that again. I don't understand how we can willingly offend each other and it not bother you. You should be bothered when you hurt somebody. You should be bothered when you've offended. That makes you human. I'm going to say this and I'm done. We have become less human. A part of the less humanity that we are experiencing is a result of technology, AI. It's a result, in order to talk or have conversations before, we had to meet up. You had to come to my house, I had to come to your house. We had to go out to eat, we had to do something. Now, we're in a age of technology, and that technology now has given us the advantage where I can communicate to at least 100 people at the same time and not even see them. So removing the fellowship, I'm also removing the human touch. What makes me sensitive to humans, I gotta be around humans. But if I'm behind a desk typing, if I'm behind the desk texting, if I'm behind the desk sending messages through email, I don't have to necessarily connect with you. And my inability to connect with you now is a disadvantage for me because I don't know how to deal with humans anymore. I've become socially awkward because I'm not accustomed to being around people. I'm accustomed to communicating at a desk. You need to create outlets where you can get around people. Go to the fair, go to the circus, go sit in a salon. It allows you to keep your human touch so that now when you say things and when you do things, you understand how humans feel. But as long as you're using technology to manage your day-to-day activity and you have no human activity, or you're in a place of authority that relieves you the ability to connect with human, you're on a stage talking. You ain't being human. You're not being human on the stage talking because you're in charge. You're the facilitator. And as long as you're charged, giving order, facilitating, there's a level of accountability you don't have to have because you're not in touch with the people that you're talking to. This is how leaders get in error. They get in error because they're used to leading. And because they're used to leading, they've lost the inherent feel that comes with hearing. I think one of the most arrogant statements a person can make, God talks to me. I listen to God. Well, okay, in listening to God, then you will understand that God said that he's going to cause people to give to your bosom, meaning God ain't in heaven passing out stuff. He touches the heart of humans, and in order for you to get it, there has to be interaction. So you being human is a part of his plan in a world full of humans. Now, you don't want to be human. You're going to ask the Lord and use your faith to travel to Mars and stay up there and let us know if somebody else is up there with you. All right? So that's coffee time this morning. Thank you for taking the time to help me on my journey. I'm living new realities. I have new possibilities. Things have changed for me, and I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come and listen to Coffee Time. Listen, you're born to win, predestined to succeed. There's nothing that can happen to you today that the wisdom on the inside of you is not able to handle. You gotta calm down, chill, relax, and let wisdom speak. When wisdom speaks, you will always win. Always win. You all have a great, productive day, and always remember to think higher, speak light. Peace.